Here's an exercise demonstration video for the glute bridge. When we do this one, you can do it unloaded with 2 legs, 1 leg, or with added load. So a standard glute bridge starts off laying down flat on your back, feet flat on the floor, knees pointed up to the ceiling, and then just pushing your belt buckle straight up to the ceiling. And when you do this one, you want to make sure you're using your hamstrings, your glutes, and your low back. But you also want to keep a little bit of tone in the muscles along the front of your body, so that when you bridge up, you maintain that straight alignment along the front. If you bridge up and you have a body position that's more curved, not only can you overload the muscles of your spine, but you can also put the discs and the bones of the vertebrae into poor position. So remember, rather than being overly arched, we want to keep a little bit of tone along the front so we have that straight line. Glute bridge, moving your hips up and down, a great way to work the hamstrings, glutes, and low back. Keep that tone, and when you do this one, you can earn some bonus credit by thinking about pulling your heels in towards your own body. Now they won't move because of the friction with the floor, but when this muscle along the back of the leg contracts, it would bring that foot in towards the body. So if I can bridge up and think about pulling those heels in, it doesn't look like anything on video, but now there's much more muscle tone along the back of the leg. This will be best with your heels flat on the floor, because if you go up onto your toes, you're going to be predominantly using the muscles of the quad rather than those hamstrings that we want. So keep the heels flat, bridge up, abs are braced, and the hamstrings are pulling those heels in along the floor. Now if you want to do this glute bridge with 1 leg, you can put 1 leg out. I like to hit the heel, the back of the knee, and the butt all on the floor so I know I have that straight alignment, and then bridge up right here. And for this 1 leg bridge, notice that my knees are just getting next to each other. What I don't want to see is a bridge where this leg goes up higher than the other leg, because now I know that my hip flexors have activated in order to lift this leg. Right here, we've kept this movement to the glutes and that braced abs that we talked about. And that's what we want to see. Now, if you're somewhere in between the standard glute bridge with both legs and the 1-legged version, a great option for you is the marching version, where you bring your hips up, you find that brace, and now to march, I'm just going to keep my hips stationary while I put 1 leg out straight. Again, those knees just lined up with each other. Bring that foot back down and switch to the other leg. This one's called marching because as you do this, you have this alternating pattern as though you're walking or marching. But you'll feel a tremendous amount of work in the glutes as they stabilize, particularly to counter the rotation that comes when we take 1 foot off the ground. I like to put my hands just right here on my waist, kind of floating them against the fabric of my waistband to make sure that I haven't drooped my hip down at all once I've taken that foot off the ground. And I'm exaggerating it here to make it easy to see, but we don't even want to have that subtle movement side to side. We want this entire middle section of your body to be stationary and to be tightly braced. As you're doing that one, make sure that you bring that contraction even up into your core, and of course keep your breathing consistent while you're doing that work. Standard glute bridge, the 1-leg version, either side, and of course, if you need to, you can be in that march in between. This is a great one for stabilizing the entire body. Finally, if you don't feel like you can work by lifting up and down anymore, just hold the position. Feel that ab and glute engagement. Pull those heels in towards you so you have the hamstring. Make sure that you're keeping that organization. If you're not up for the movement, at least that isometric tension. If you want to add some load to your glute bridge, you can put a dumbbell, medicine ball, kettlebell, small child, whatever works, right here at the waistband of your pants and shorts, and then go through those movements just like we talked about, bridging the hips up, making sure we use the glute, the hamstring, and we're keeping that tension in the core. You can do our 1-leg version as well. You can do our march, everything that we talked about. The final thing for the glute bridge is to elevate your shoulders and to do a movement that we usually rename to the hip thrust. I have my weightlifting keg here, but you can use a piece of furniture or any object that gives you comfort for your upper back. When you do this one, I like to start sitting just in front of the object that I'm going to go up on top of, because this is going to be our movement right here. Keeping the head and neck neutral, the abs brace, we descend the hips down, and then we push back up again. And it finds those same muscles that we wanted, albeit at a slightly different angle here. One of the common mistakes is to be overarched, just like we talked about in our glute bridge. Keep the abs braced so we keep that straight line. And remember that it exists all the way into your neck. So I'm just looking straight to the ceiling. I don't want to bring my chin to my throat or let my head be too relaxed. Now, to add the load, take this weight when you're sitting down, bring it to the front of your hips. Be careful here that you don't crush yourself. And then find this position, making sure at the top that your heels are flat on the floor and the entire length of your foot is touching. Now our movement is to go up and down like this, keeping that neck aligned, keeping the abs braced, making sure that the real effort is coming from the glutes, pushing up through that load that we've added. Notice this, to keep my neck straight, I have to look at the ceiling, and then I have to look at the wall, and then the ceiling again. So my viewpoint is changing in order to keep that neck stationary relative to the trunk. Remember, safety on this one, come down to the bottom, unload off to the side so that you don't have any drop or bouncing weights that could hurt you. All right, hope this is helpful for you. See you next time.